श्री भागवत-गीता की जय। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी,
जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Hare, Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe.
Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Deva ki
Jai.
Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada
Ki Jai.
Bhagavad-Gita ki
Jai.
So today is the second day of Bhagavad Gita reading, and it's very important day. On 25th December is the Gita Jayanti and Mokshada Ekadashi and Christmas. Very popular day. So they say Gita Dan is Mahadan. You can sponsor the Gita in memory of your beloved ones, or you can sponsor Gita in any occasion. So you can contact me. My name is Shobha Devi Dasi. My phone number, you can write it down, 917-710-3783. Hare Krishna. So now Nikunja Bihari Prabhu will continue the Gita reading. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Whatever we started yesterday. People are calling us back and we respond them properly. And there is one requirement to clarify one thing from yesterday's pravachan or whatever the talk we gave about Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. And that is, we are not trying to show you a shortcut that, okay, you just chant these and you will get the whole benefit. Yes, it's possible. But still, here it says in Bhagavad-Gita and Mahatmya, Yo astadasa japo nityam. Krishna wants you to read all the 18 chapters. But pathe asamartha sampurne tato ardha pada samachare. If you cannot read 18 chapters, try to read 9 chapters. If you cannot read 9 chapters, Krishna says read 5 chapters. If you cannot read 5 chapters, Krishna says, okay, read 2 chapters. He says, if you cannot read 2 chapters, read 1 chapter, right? And then he keeps telling that eka dhyayam tu yo nityam. 1 chapter is better, but if you cannot read whole chapter, then read a half chapter. Tribhagam pathamanastu. The third, 1/3 of the chapter you can read, And adhyaya shokpadam va nityam. You cannot read the whole chapter or even 1/3 of the chapter or 1/8 of the chapter. Then pick 1 verse every day and read it. But if you cannot do that, then shloka dashakam sapta pancha tatuskamam do trinekam tadatram va shlokanam ya pathen naraha. He's God himself. He's so much compassionate that it gives you options. Same thing he deal with Arjuna, and he says, fix your mind upon me. And Arjuna says, well, he says, okay, if you cannot fix your mind upon me, follow the regular principles. Still Krishna is looking at him, Arjuna is looking at Krishna, and Krishna says, okay, if you cannot follow the regulatory principles, then you work for me. Arjuna is nodding his head, and he says, okay, even you cannot work for me, then just give up all the results of your activities and surrender to me and submit it to me. Give up all your results, right? All the fruits of your activities. And he says, well, so he said, okay, if you cannot do that, then cultivate the knowledge. 10,000 options he is giving throughout the Gita. If you cannot do this, do this, do this. So, Dashamam Sapta Pancha Tatuska Advitriniti, you can, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, Anushtup Chanda has 16 words in one shloka, in one verse. Krishna says, one verse will take 16 words only. But if you are not able, just read 8 words, only 8 words every day. If you cannot read 8 words, read only 4 words every day. If you cannot read 4 words, read only 2 words every day. If you cannot read 2 words, at least read 1 word every day. He is so compassionate, right? He is trying to help you. You start with something, doesn't matter, it's 1 word. I will give you the example. For example, you start reading Bhagavad-Gita. Which is the first word? Dharma. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsava mamaka pandavas cheva kimak kurvata sanjay. Right? First word is dharma. And you say, okay, I read dharma. But Krishna says, no, you just read it, but now you have to reflect on it and you have to understand what a dharma is. Try to investigate. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya upadekshanti te gnani tattvanadashina. Go to some devotee, some guru, the person who has read Bhagavad-Gita, understood his Gita, who is practicing Bhagavad-Gita. Ask, what is this dharma? And once you understand, that means you have digested that particular word, which is dharma. Why dharma is so important? The scripture says, Dhanani bhumo. There were no banks once upon a time. But people still have some coins or money or something like that to barter or deal with other society. So where they were putting money? They used to dig the hole in the ground and put their money. That's some money is in the ground now, and man box. And it was not just the cars here that kills you. There were tigers and lions and jackals. And let's say man died by the attack of a wild animal. Then what happened to the money? It stayed there, that's it. Dhanani bhumo. Wherever your money is going to stay. Even if today it's in a safe, in a bank, right? In the form of a credit, cash or bond, whatever, it's going to stay there when you die. That's what it says. Pashavascha goste. Pashava means vehicle, the means of transportation. They didn't have the Mercedes that time. They had the elephants, the horses, camels. They used to ride and go from one place to other place. But when they die, even a bicycle cannot help you. Even if your own charter plane will not give you a ride to go to heaven. It's going to stay, it's going to be parked where it is parked in a garage. So, Pashavascha goste. Bharya gruhi dware. Bharya means your beloved wife. You think I married her and it's perfect, she is loving me so much, she will go with me. But no. According to the custom in India, The wife cannot leave the house when husband dies. She has to take up the house, she has to take care of the family and the children, etc. So she cannot love, she cannot go with you. Svajana smashana, yes, few people will come and crash the funeral party. They grab a cup of coffee and some cookies and cakes and all that, and they will talk about, oh, he was a nice guy, you know. Actually, he owed me $100, he never paid me, but that's okay, now he's gone. But he was a good man. That kind of talks you hear in the funeral home. They are just crashing the party. That's it. Svajana smashana. So this is the kind of people who will come for your wake and will try to make you feel good that, okay, at least he came for my funeral, right? Now, dehaschitayam. This beautiful body that you maintain every morning, you know, jogging and running and this and going to gym and keeping everything in shape. Every single day, have a breakfast, brunch, lunch, supper, all kind of junk foods, tea and coffee, a glass of wine, and a fantastic dinner, right? You feed and keep this body updated, decorated, right? Put on the nicest possible clothes and ornaments on it. You look beautiful. But still, that particular body is not going to join you when you die. They will throw in a river. They will burn it to ashes. They will dig a hole in the ground and bury the casket inside. Right? The birds and cats and dogs will eat that. The body is not going to go with you. Dehaschitayam. But paraloka marge, somebody is going to go with you. Yes, you can carry a little suitcase as per the law. And you can take what? Dharmanugo gacchati jiva ekah. Only one thing you are going to take with you is your own religion that you perform. It's going to go with you. There is only one question. Yesterday we were discussing about, you know, one who drinks the water of Ganges, like one is chanting a name of Murari Prabhu, right? He will not have to talk with Yamaraja. Because when you go there, Yamaraja is asking only one question. It is a multiple question. And the answer is yes or no. He's going to ask you, did you perform your duty? That time you cannot say, well, I even didn't know what is my duty. That is why this word dharma is very important. This is why these 18 chapters are there. And Bhagavan Sri Krishna is advising you that what kind of dharma you have. What is your dharma? The first word in Bhagavad-Gita is dharma, dharma kshetra kurukshetra. And the last word in Bhagavad-Gita, you know, let's say if you are reading one word at a time, yatra yogeshvara krishna yatra partho urdhanudara, tatra shi vijyo bhuti dhruva nitir matir mama. The last word is mama, that's it. After there is no any Bhagavad-Gita. It's done, finished. That are two words, first word and the last word. Dharma, mama. Mama dharma. What Gita is giving you in these two words, mama dharma, what is your duty? That's what it says here. And that's why in our sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada is so merciful that he has given this particular verse. And Pujari always chants. At any kind of puja we have, we do this and we call it the Bhuta Shuddhi. In order to purify, we have to make up our mind in a certain fashion, certain pattern. Must have that kind of status, mental status. And it says, Naham vipro, nachana rapatir, napi vaishyo na shudro, naham varani, nacha gruhapatir, no vanastho yatirva. Kintu prodhyana nikhila paramananda, purnamrdera, gopi bhartur padakamalayur, dasa dasan dasa. That's your dharma. That's what you are supposed to follow. And that's what Yamaraja, the death personification, is going to ask you, whether you perform that duty or no. Answer, yes or no. Guilty or not guilty. Right? So, the translation Prabhupada gives, I am not a Brahmana, I am not a Kshatriya, nor I am a Vaishya or a Shudra. Neither I am a Brahmachari, nor a Grasta, nor a Vanaprastha, nor a Sannyasi, but I am simply the servant of lotus feet of eternally self-manifested, ocean of nectar of highest bliss, the master of the gopis, Shri Shri Radha Govinda. I am by nature the eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna, but by misfortune, due to being inimical towards him from time immemorial, I have been identifying with this body and have been wandering the cycle of birth and death again and again in this material existence, being burned by threefold of miseries. Now, as a result of some unimaginable good fortune, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I know that I am the eternal servant of Krishna, that I am an infinitesimal spiritual being completely apart from the gross and subtle body. Now, by the order of my spiritual masters, following in his footsteps, I have obtained the good fortune of being able to serve his lotus feet, as well as the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Sri Radha Govinda. That's your eternal duty. That's all you have to do. You live 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, or 100 and more years, whatever. But you have to perform this duty perfectly within that given time span. So, I say that we were not looking for a shortcut. Krishna gives you option that you can read one word, but that does not mean you have to read one word. Few days before, I was doing this saptah, and it was on YouTube, and I could actually see the comments and all that by people who were watching. And one person, then he called me and he says, I felt so comfortable with your lecture. I say, yeah, Prabhu, what's the best thing you like about this pravachan? He says, the pastimes of Ajamila. He says, I was worried in committing sinful activities, but I am burdenless now. I feel great when I commit something wrong. If Ajamila can chant only once at the time of death, Narayan, and can go back to Godhead, I will commit 100 times more sinful activities, enjoy this material world, and the time of death, when I see the Yamaraja, I will chant Narayan, Narayan. I say, Prabhu, it's not up to you to chant Narayan, Narayan. It is up to Narayan. Maybe you die in accident. You never know. Maybe you are in coma already. Maybe you lost your mental status where you cannot even speak anything or understand anything or speak anything, right? Chant anything. So that time what will you do? You will have to come back as a roach in your own kitchen. You want to take a chance? No, we are not telling you this kind of story so that you become like Ajamil and commit sinful activities. Don't take chance that, okay, I will chant Narayan's name. That's not the reason we told you this story. The God wanted to establish importance of Nama. How Harinam can be important in your life. How potent it is. that even at the time of death, sinful person like Ajamila was delivered by Narayana. God wanted to show that, and that is why that pastime is there. It is not because we want you to become sinful like Ajamila. It's not that we want you to wait till your last breath when you will chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In one sampradaya, they have a beautiful prayer. It says, Tvameva yache mama dehi jihve, samagate dandadhare krutante, vyaktavyameva madhuram subhaktya, govinda damodara madhaveti. Fantastic. The man is trying to bribe the tongue. He says, you want gulab jamun, I'll give you gulab jamun. You want rasgulla, I'll give you rasgulla. If you want pada, I will give you pada. You want to eat dhokla, I will do. Any kind of variety you want to eat, I will serve. I'll make you happy because I want some friendship with you. And higher than those tastes, I'm giving you even the highest taste available in the world, and that is chanting of the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The tongue, as soon as it chanted the Mahamantra, it was satisfied, and it said, you are right, this is the highest taste. So he said, okay. Now, will you do me a favor? The man is talking to his own tongue, and he says, a time will come. Right now I am young, I am okay, I can chant. But a time may come in my life when I become very old. Angam galitam palitam mundam dashanamhinam jatam tundam vruddho yati gruhitva dannam tadapi namunchati ashapindam. And in those days, my senses will leave me one by one, and even my tongue, you would like to also leave me. But please don't leave me. Before I leave my body, my soul leaves this particular body, don't try to leave. Keep chanting the name of Krishna. Even if I am not able to chant my tongue, please keep chanting. So, Tvameva yache. Yache means with folded hands, he is begging to his own tongue, please help me. When time comes, when I am in coma, when I don't understand anything around me, when I am not able to recognize anybody, when I cannot understand anything, when I am dumb and mute, and that time, my dear tongue, please try to keep chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra for me. So this is a fabulous, scripture, and that's why at the end also it prays. Atma tvam girijamati sahachara prana shariram gruham pujam te vishayopabhoga rachana nindra samadhisthita sanchara padayo pradakshina vidhi stotrani sarva giro yad yad karma karomi tattadakhilam Krishna tavaradhanam Krishna tavaradhanam Krishna tavaradhanam Krishna tavaradhanam Krishna tavaradhanam. So that is the dharma, that's our duty. Sanchara padayo pradakshina vidhi. Even if it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The devotee's mind, it thinks that it's just 5 o'clock in the morning. He thinks Tulsi Maharani is still there. And when he's walking, he thinks that I am walking around Tulsi Maharani. Yani kani japapani janmantar kutanve tani tani sar nashyantu pradakshinam pade pade. Every step, what he is doing, that he is taking pradakshina of Tulsi Maharani. Every step, anything that aids, right? He offers this to Krishna. Yat karoshi yajannashi vajyoshi dadadiya tat tapashi kante tat kurushvamada arpanam. So, every activity, yadyat karma karoi tat tat akhiram. Anything that you do, any word that I speak, stotrani sarvagiro. Every word that I speak, I try to glorify Krishna. There is nothing else is coming from my mouth. And that's why when we resolve yesterday, we'll say, Rutham vadishyami, Satyam vadishyami, Tvam Brahmana iti vadishyami. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. If I speak anything, I will just speak to glorify yourself. And that's what devotees' duty is. That's dharma. So that is why we wanted you to read Bhagavad-Gita. It's not that we didn't want to read you whole Bhagavad-Gita, but whatever you can do, wherever you can start, we can do that. So we go and read some of the leftover from yesterday. This will help us because now, once we read this, we'll start reading all these verses one by one, and we still have like up to Christmas Day. So there is a lot of reading, but that's only the verses that we have to take care. Before that, we have to learn something from Srila Prabhupada, that how he wants us to learn this particular scripture. Bhagavad-Gita is also known as Gita-Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad-Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad-Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad-Gita available in English. But as far as I have seen, not only in America but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad-Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad-Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad-Gita itself. It is just like this. If you want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions of the label or the directions given by the physician. Similarly, Bhagavad-Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad-Gita is Lord Sri Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad-Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod. And certainly here, Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality. But at the same time, we should know that Lord Sri Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great acharyas, spiritual masters, like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbark Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord Himself also establishes Himself as the Supreme Personality Godhead in Bhagavad-Gita and is accepted as such in Brahma Samhita, in all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavat Puranas. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swam. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is, directed by the Personality of Godhead Himself. Imam Vaivasvate Yogan Proktavanam Avyam Vivasvana Manve Praha Manur Ikshasve Bravita. Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarsho Viduhu Sakalena Mahata Yogo Nasta Parantapa. Sa evam Mayetedya Yogana Prokta Puratanaha Bhaktosime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Hi Etat Uttamam. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to Sun God, and the Sun God explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is specially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are three classes of transcendentalists, namely the Gnani, the Yogi, and a Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the mediator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making his the first receiver of new parampara, disciplic succession, because old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the Sun God to others. It was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, specially because Arjuna was the devotee of Lord, a direct student of Krishna and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. That is to say, he must be devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of the 5 different ways. There is not only one way to relate ourselves with Krishna. There are 5 different ways. One may be a devotee in passive state. One may be a devotee in active state. One may be a devotee as a friend. One may be a devotee as a parent. One may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by anyone. Of course, anyone has a particular relationship with the Lord, and that relationship is evoked by the perfection of the devotional service. But in present status of our life, not only have we forgotten the Supreme Lord, we have forgotten our eternal relationship with Lord. Every living being out of the many, many billions and trillions of living beings has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Swarupa. By the process of devotional service, one can revive that Swarupa, and that stage is called Swarupa Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad-Gita should be noted. Param Brahma, Param Dhamam, Paramam Bhavana, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vibhuma. Arjuna said, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the ultimate abode, the purest, the absolute. You are the eternal, transcendental, original person, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Devala and Vyasa confirm this truth about you, and now yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality. After hearing Bhagavad-Gita from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted Krishna as Param Brahma, the Supreme Brahman. Every living being is Brahman, but the Supreme living being or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Brahman. Param Dhama means that which is the supreme rest or abode of everything. Pavitram means that is pure, untainted by material contamination. Purusham means that he is the supreme enjoyer. Shashvatam, eternal. Divyam, transcendental. Adi Devam, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ajam, the unborn, and Vibhum, the greatest. So we always use the word of Purusha. There is a word Puri, right? In Bhagavad-Gita also it says, this body is a city of 9 gates. Puri means a city which has 9 gates. You see the 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, the ears, and the mouth, and 2 down below. So all that count as 9 gates, and that is a city. And one who lives in the city, Purim sthiyate iti Purusham. The person who lives in the body is a Purusha, and that is a Parameshwar, or a Supreme Personality of Godhead, or a super soul, or your own soul, whatever you call it, is a spiritual spark which lives in this body, which is made out of bones and muscles and blood and all that kind of things. So that is a Purusha. So every word which is used here has some meaning. And what to speak of Krishna when we call him a Parama Purusha. Now one may think that because Krishna was a friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this by way of flattery. But Arjuna, just to dry out this kind of doubt from the minds of reader of Bhagavad-Gita, substantially this praises in next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead not only by himself but by authorities like Narada, Asita, Deval and Vyasadeva. These are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etat rutam manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So, how can a human being understand Lord Krishna without becoming a devotee? Therefore, Bhagavad-Gita should be taken up in the spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So according to the statements of Bhagavad-Gita or the statements by Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad-Gita, we should at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with that permission, submission, spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad-Gita. Unless one reads Bhagavad-Gita in the submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad-Gita because it's a great mystery. So, we have to accept in a submissive spirit. That is a minimum, bare minimum condition. Just what is Bhagavad-Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad-Gita is to deliver mankind from nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways. As Arjuna also was in difficulty in having a fight, the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Lord Sri Krishna, and subsequently this Bhagavad-Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us in full anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in an atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other we are put into asata. Asata refers to that which does not exist. Na sato vidyate bhavo. Na bhavo vidyate sata. That's what they are trying to prove. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position. And how to inquire that? Atato Brahma Jignasa. You have to ask this question. Who am I? Where am I coming from? What's my duty? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? Right? As to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning, his suffering, unless he realizes that he does not want suffering, but rather want to make a solution to his sufferings, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. If you do not have that curiosity, atato brahma jigyasa, then something is wrong with you. Then one is not considered as a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jignasa, atato Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of human being is to be considered a failure unless the inquiry is about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they come from and where they have to go after death are proper students of understanding Bhagavad-Gita. The sincere students should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna. Lord Krishna descends specifically to re-establish the real purpose of life. When man forgets this purpose, even then, out of many, many human beings who awaken, there may be one who actually enters the spirit of understanding this position. And for him, this Bhagavad-Gita is spoken. Actually, we are all swallowed by the tigress of nescience. But the Lord is very merciful upon living entities, especially human beings. To this end, he spoke the Bhagavad-Gita, making his friend Arjuna his student. Being an associate of Lord Krishna, Arjuna was above all ignorance. But Arjuna was put into ignorance on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to question Lord Krishna about the problems of life so that the Lord could explain them for the benefit of future generations of human beings and chalk out the plan of life. Then man could act according to the perfect and mission of human life. The subject of Bhagavad-Gita entails the comprehension of 5 basic truths. This is a very, very important point to understand. Srila Prabhupada step by steps is teaching us. What are you going to get out of this? It's a huge book, right? But only 5 things you will get. There is not a 6th thing even existing. So whatever is existing in this material world is divided into 5 things. And those 5 things are presented in 5 forms. The first of all, the science of God is explained. Then the constitutional position of the living being, jivas. There is Ishvara, which means the controller. And there are jivas, the living entities which are controlled. If a living entity says that he is not controlled, but that he has been free, then he is insane. The living being is controlled in every respect, at least in his conditioned life. So in Bhagavad-Gita, the subject matter deals with Ishvara, the supreme controller, and the jivas, the controlled living entities. Prakriti, material nature, and the time, the duration of existence of the whole universe, or the manifestation of material nature, and karma, activity, are also discussed. The cosmic manifestation is full of different activities. All living entities are engaged in different activities. From Bhagavad-Gita, we must learn what God is, what the living entities are, what Prakriti is, what the cosmic manifestation is, how it is controlled by time, and what the activities of living entities are. Out of these 5 basic subject matters in Bhagavad-Gita, it is established that the Supreme Godhead or Krishna or Brahman or the Supreme Controller or Paramatma, you may use whatever name you like, is the greatest of all. The living beings are in quality like the Supreme Controller. For instance, the Lord has control over universal affairs of material nature. As will be explained in the later chapters of Bhagavad-Gita, material nature is not independent. She is acting under the direction of Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Lord Krishna says, Maya Dakshine Prakritya Suyate Sa Characharam. This material nature is working under my direction. When we see wonderful things happening in the cosmic nature, we should know that behind this cosmic manifestation there is a controller. Nothing could be manifested without being controlled. It is childish not to consider the controller. For instance, a child may think that an automobile is quite wonderful to be able to run without a horse or other animal pulling it. But a sane man knows the nature of automobiles, engineering, conscious as it being living being, but living being is conscious of this particular body, right? So, we were just talking about the Pashavasya Goswami, that there was no any means of transportation, and they used to use the elephants and horses and camels and the kind of animals. And then again the wheel was invented and they joined a little cart next to that animal, and then it became like a bullock cart, that kind of thing. So it became a means of transportation also. But when the car was invented, then the children were looking at the car and they said, what happened to the horse? We need an elephant before it. We need a donkey to carry this. But no, car used to go, right? So the intelligent person only understood the arrangement within the car. He always knows that behind the machinery there is a man, a driver. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is driver under whose direction everything is working. If it's a battery run thing with a remote control, somebody who has a remote in his hand is a driver. Not necessarily the particular car or a toy has to have a driver inside the vehicle. So as the technology develops, still you cannot eliminate a driver. Somebody has to be there to at least push the button so that computers may start helping you. So similarly, the Supreme Lord is the driver under whose direction everything is working. Now the jivas or the living entities have been accepted by the Lord, as we will note in the later chapters, as his parts and parcels. A particle of gold is also gold. A drop of water from ocean is also salty. And similarly, we, the living entities, being part and parcel of Supreme Controller, Ishvara, or the Bhagavan, Lord Shri Krishna, have all the qualities of the Supreme Lord in minute quantity, because we are minute Ishvaras, subordinate Ishvaras. We are trying to control nature, as presently we are trying to control space or planets. And this tendency to control is there because it is in Krishna. But although we have tendency to lord it over material nature, we should know that we are not the Supreme Controller. This is explained in Bhagavad-Gita. What is material nature? This is also explained in Gita as in inferior Prakriti, inferior nature. The living entity explained as the superior Prakriti. Prakriti is always under control, whether inferior or superior. Prakriti is female and she is controlled by the Lord, just as activities of wife are controlled by the husband. Prakriti is always subordinate, predominated by the Lord, who is the predominator. The living entities and the material nature are both predominated, controlled by Supreme Lord. According to Gita, the living entities, all the parts and parcels of Supreme Lord, are to be considered Prakriti. This is clearly mentioned in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. This material nature is my inferior Prakriti, but beyond this is another Prakriti, Jiva-bhutam, the living entities. Material nature itself is constituted by the three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. About these modes, there is eternal time, and by combining of these modes of nature and under the control of preview of eternal time, there are activities which are called karma. So we are coming to a very, very important element or the word which is known as karma. These activities are being carried out from time immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For instance, suppose I am a businessman and I have worked very hard with intelligence and amassed a great bank balance, then I am an enjoyer. But then say I have lost all my money in business, then I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work or we suffer the results, and that is called karma. Very beautiful definition and way of explaining by Srila Prabhupada. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, Jiva, the living entity, Prakriti, the nature, Kala, the eternal time, and karma, activities, are all explained in Bhagavad-Gita. So that is the only reason we ask you to please come forward and sponsor one of this box of Bhagavad-Gita. 24 Bhagavad-Gita, such a wonderful literature. Nice to have it in your home. Your children can read it. And when you have time, the whole family can sit down and read and try to understand. It is a very, very auspicious thing to do. So please try to sponsor at least one Bhagavad Gita, behalf of you. You don't have to really have a Bhagavad Gita if you have a Bhagavad Gita. But that's not an excuse not to sponsor the Bhagavad Gita. If you sponsor, if you don't want the Bhagavad Gita in a hard copy, then we'll keep it. And there are people who are coming to the temple who doesn't have money. But that's okay. We give them a free Bhagavad Gita and we write your name on it that this Bhagavad Gita is by you or be from us. So the thing is that it's very, very important that please try to cooperate and try to sponsor at least one box of Bhagavad Gita. One box contains 24 Bhagavad Gita. If you have that many family members, sometimes the family is big, then you give one to everyone. Sometimes there is office, some business, and they have 24 employees, right? And they could have one Bhagavad Gita. You put it under the Christmas tree. This year is just coincident that the advent of Bhagavad Gita falls on that auspicious day of Christmas, and you can distribute this wonderful literature to your employees. So you know that Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma. These are the 5 things, 5 factors explaining Bhagavad Gita. Out of these 5, the Lord, the living entity, material nature and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita or according to the philosophy of Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real, but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky over the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at certain intervals, stays for a while, and then disappears. Such are the workings of the Prakriti. But this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal. It is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is separated energy of Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also energy of Supreme Lord, although they are not separated but eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature and time are all interrelated and are eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very, very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we are changed the results of karma or our activities, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities. But this is also explained in Bhagavad-Gita. The position of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is that of supreme consciousness. The jivas or the living entities, being parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, are also conscious. Both the living entity and material nature are explained as a Prakriti, the energy of Supreme Lord. But one of the two, the jivas, is conscious. The other Prakriti is not conscious. That's the difference. Therefore, the jiva Prakriti is called superior, because the jiva has consciousness which is similar to Lord's. The Lord's is supreme consciousness. However, and one should not claim that the jiva, the living entity, is also supremely conscious. The living being cannot be supremely conscious at any stage of perfection, and the theory that he cannot be so is a misleading theory. Conscious he may be, but he is not perfectly or supremely conscious. So we have to know that yes, we are conscious, but conscious we may be, but we are not perfectly or supremely conscious. The distinctions between Jiva and Ishvara will be explained in 13th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. The Lord is Kshetragna, conscious, as is being living being. But the living being is conscious of his particular body, whereas the Lord is conscious of all bodies, because he lives in heart of every living being. He is conscious of the psychic movements of particular jivas. We should not forget this. It is also explained that the Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is living in everyone's heart as a Ishvara, as a controller, and that he is giving directions for the living entity to act as it desires. The living entity forgets what to do. First of all, he makes the determination to act in a certain way, and then he is entangled in actions and reactions of his own karma. After giving up one type of body, he enters another type of body. As we take off and put on clothes, as the soul thus migrates, he suffers the actions and reactions of his past activities. These activities can be changed when the living being is in mode of goodness and sanity and understands that sort of activities he should be adopt. If we should do so, then all the actions and the reactions of his past activities can be changed. Consequently, karma is not eternal. Therefore, we stated that of the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. We have a beautiful example of Valmiki. Valmiki was a robber, right? Managed to kill. And rob the people, and this is how he was making his living. Also, he was hunting the deer and so many animals and eat the flesh and make the family members also eat so that they can be maintained also by this kind of violent business. So he was not such a good person. That was the lowest of all. But then he came across Narada Muni. And Narada Muni says, do your wife knows what you are doing? He says, yes. He says, when you go back to Yamaraja, he is going to ask, is anybody ready to share your sinful activities so that your punishment can be minimized? What will you say, your wife will share it with you? He said, I don't know, I didn't ask my wife. He said, go and ask. So he went to ask his wife. And the wife says, no, I even don't know how to conduct this bow and arrow. Don't involve me in this killing and violent things. You know, I'm not going to share your sinful activities. I have not committed any sins. You are the boss of this family. You maintain us by hook or crook. So he asked his daughter and a son and a father and mother, every living being. No one was ready to share, and that is why he came back and he says, nobody is ready. So Narada Muni instructed him that you will be sorry. All by yourself you are committing all these things, and you think you are doing it for the family, you are doing it for the society and all that kind of thing. No one is going to go with you. Try to change yourself. And that is time he started chanting the mantra, Rama. Name Rama was given as a mantra, and he started chanting Ram, 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 Ram. Ultimately he became a Valmiki, sage Valmiki, and he gave this world a wonderful scripture called Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana. So this is the story that here it proves that karmas are not actually eternal, and we can change it at any time. As soon as you surrender to Krishna, those sinful activities burn down to ashes. And that's what Srila Prabhupada is trying to say. Therefore, we stated that the 5 items, Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, time and karma, 4 are eternal, whereas karma is not eternal. The Supreme Conscious, Ishvara, is similar to the living entity. In this way, both the consciousness of Lord and that of the living entity are transcendental. It is not that consciousness is generated by the association of the matter. That's a mistake idea. The theory that consciousness develops under certain circumstances of material combination is not accepted in Bhagavad-Gita. The consciousness may be perverted, reflected by covering of material circumstances, just as the light reflected through colored glass may appear to be certain color, but the consciousness of the Lord is not materially affected. Lord Krishna says, Maya adhyakshena prakritihi. When he descends into the material universe, his consciousness is not materially affected. If he were so affected, he would be unfit to speak on transcendental matters as he does in Bhagavad-Gita. One cannot say anything about transcendental world without being free from material contaminated consciousness. So the Lord is not materially contaminated. Our consciousness at the present moment, however, is materially contaminated. The Bhagavad-Gita teaches that we have to purify this materially contaminated consciousness. In pure consciousness, our actions will be dovetailed to the will of Ishvara, and that will make us happy. It is not that we have to cease all activities. Rather, our activities are to be purified, and purified activities are called bhakti. Activities in bhakti appear to be like ordinary activities, but they are not contaminated. As ignorant person may see that a devotee is acting or working like an ordinary man, but such a person with a poor fund of knowledge does not know that the activities of devotees or of the Lord are not contaminated by impure consciousness or matter. They are transcendent to the three modes of material nature. We should know, however, that at this point our consciousness is contaminated. When we are materially contaminated, we are called conditioned. False consciousness is exhibited under the impression that I am a product of material nature. This is called false ego. One who is absorbed in the thought of bodily conception cannot understand this situation. Bhagavad-Gita was spoken to liberate one from the bodily conception of life, and Arjuna put himself in this position in order to receive this information from the Lord. One must become free from bodily conception of life. That is the preliminary activity for the transcendentalist. One who wants to become free, who wants to become liberated, must first of all learn that he is not this material body. Mukti or liberation means freedom from material consciousness. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, also definition of liberation is given. Muktir hitatvatha rupema swarupena vyavasthitaha. Mukti means liberation from the contaminated consciousness of this material world and situation of pure consciousness. All the instructions of Bhagavad-Gita are intended to awaken this pure consciousness, and therefore we find at last stage of Gita's instructions that Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he is now in purified consciousness. Purified consciousness means acting in accordance with the instructions of Lord, which is whole sum and substance of purified consciousness. Consciousness is already there because we are part and parcel of Lord. But for us, there is affinity of being affected by inferior modes. But the Lord, being supreme, is never affected. That is the difference between Supreme Lord and the small individual souls. What is this consciousness? This consciousness is I am. Then, what am I? In contaminated consciousness, I am means I am the Lord of all I survey. I am the enjoyer. The Lord revolves because every living being thinks that he is the Lord and creator of material world. Material consciousness have two psychic divisions. One is that I am the creator, and the other is that I am the enjoyer. But actually the Supreme Lord is both the creator and the enjoyer. And the living entity, being part and parcel of Supreme Lord, is neither the creator nor an enjoyer, but a cooperator. He is created and enjoyed. For instance, a part of the machine cooperates with the whole machine. A part of the body cooperates with the whole body. The hands, the legs, the eyes, so on are all parts of the body. But they are not actually the enjoyer. The stomach is the enjoyer. The legs move. The hands supply food. The teeth chew. And all parts of the body are engaged in satisfying the stomach, because the stomach is principal factor that nourishes the body's organization. Therefore, everything is given to stomach. One nourishes the tree by watering the root, and one nourishes the body by feeding the stomach. For if his body is to be taken in the healthy state, then the parts of the body must cooperate to feed the stomach. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the enjoyer and a creator, and we, as subordinate living beings, are meant to cooperate to satisfy him. This cooperation will actually help us, just as food taken by stomach will help all other parts of the body. If the fingers of the hands think that they should take the food themselves instead of giving it to the mouth or to stomach, then they will be frustrated. The central figure of creation, of enjoyment, is the Supreme Lord, and the living entities are cooperators. But cooperation, the enjoy. The relation is also like that of master and the servant. If the master is fully satisfied, then the servant is satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied. All the tendency to become the creator and the tendency to enjoy the material world are there also in living entities, because these tendencies there in Supreme Lord, who has created and manifested cosmic world. We shall find therefore in this Bhagavad-Gita that a complete whole is comprised of Supreme Controller, the controller living entities, the cosmic manifestation, eternal time and karma or the activities, and all these are explained in this text. All of this taken completely from complete whole, and the complete whole is called Supreme Absolute Truth. So we always chant Om Purnamada Purnamadam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. So here, that is a translation here. The complete whole and the complete absolute truth are the complete personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna, all manifestations are due to his different energies. He is the complete whole. It is also explained in Gita that impersonal Brahman is also subordinate to complete Supreme Person. Brahmano hi pratisthaham. Brahman is more explicitly explaining Brahma Sutra to be like the rays of the sunshine. The impersonal Brahman is the shining rays of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman is incomplete realization of absolute whole, and so also is the conception of Paramatma. In the 15th chapter, it shall be seen that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Purushottama, is above both personal Brahman and the partial realization of Paramatma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Satchidananda Vigraha. The Brahma Samhita begins in this way. Ishvara Param Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda, Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause, and is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Impersonal Brahman realization is the relation of his Sat, eternally future. Paramatma realization is the realization of Sat Chit, eternal knowledge. But a realization of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the realization of all the transcendental feature, Sat, Chit and Anand. Eternity, knowledge and bliss in complete Vigraha form. What a wonderful explanation. People with less intelligence consider the Supreme Truth to be impersonal, but he is a transcendental person, and this is confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetanam, Kathopanishad says. As we are all individual living beings and have our individuality, the supreme absolute truth is also an ultimate issue. A person, the realization of personality of Godhead, is realization of all the transcendental features in its complete form. The complete whole is not formless. If he is formless, or if he is less than any other thing, then he cannot be the complete whole. The complete whole must have everything within our experience and beyond our experience, otherwise it cannot be complete. The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immersed potencies, purasya shaktis, vivida suyate. How Krishna is acting different potencies is also explained in Bhagavad-Gita. This phenomenal world or material world in which we are placed is also complete in itself, because the 24 elements of which this material universe is temporarily manifestation, according to Sankhya philosophy, are completely adjusted to produce complete resources which are necessary for the maintenance and sustenance of this universe. There is nothing extraneous, or is there anything needed. This manifestation, its own time fixed by energy of supreme whole. And when it is time to complete, these temporary manifestations will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete. That is complete facility for the small complete units, namely the living entities, to realize the complete. And all sorts of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of complete. So, Bhagavad-Gita contains complete knowledge of Vedic wisdom. All Vedic knowledge is infallible, and Hindus accept Vedic knowledge to be complete and infallible. For example, cow dung or the stool of the animal, and according to Smriti, the Vedic injunction, if one touches the stool of an animal, he has to take a bath to purify himself. But in Vedic scriptures, cow dung is considered to be purifying agent. One might consider this to be contradictory, but it accepted because it is Vedic injunction. And indeed, we accepted these. One will not commit a mistake subsequently. It has been proved by modern scientists that cow dung contains all antiseptic properties. So, Vedic knowledge is complete because it is above all doubts and mistakes. Bhagavad-Gita is essence of all Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is not question of research. Our research work is imperfect because we are researching things with imperfect senses. We have to accept perfect knowledge which comes down as is stated in Bhagavad-Gita by parampara, disciplic succession. We have to receive knowledge from the proper sources in disciplic succession, being with the supreme spiritual masters, the Lord himself, and handed down to the succession spiritual master. Arjuna, the students who took lessons from Lord Shri Krishna, accepts everything that he says without contradiction him. One is not allowed to accept the portion of the Bhagavad-Gita and not another. No. We must accept Bhagavad-Gita without interpretation, without deletion, without our own whimsical participation in this matter. The Gita should be taken as the most perfect presentation of Vedic knowledge. Vedic knowledge is received from transcendental sources, and the first word were spoken by Lord himself. The words spoken by Lord are called apurusheya, meaning that they are different from the words spoken by a person of mundane world who is affected with 4 defects. What are the 4 defects? A mundaner is sure to commit mistakes. Yes, we all make mistakes, right? They say, Manushya Matra, Gulu Patra, right? So everyone makes a mistake. Is invariably illusion. We are all under illusion. Third is, as the tendency to cheat others. We are cheating propensity. And fourth is limited by imperfect senses. Yes, the doors are closed. So, person who is passing in the corridor cannot see that somebody is inside reading Bhagavad-Gita. Otherwise, he would come. But if you ask what happened, you were just kept walking, you didn't come inside. I didn't know. I couldn't see through the wall. How come he couldn't see through the wall? Because the senses are imperfect. These are not the X-rays. We have limitation of seeing, limitation of hearing, limitation of touching, limitation of doing anything whatsoever. We have all limitations. And this way we are limited. These four defects are there. Everyone has those defects. Vedic knowledge is not imparted by such defective living entities. It was imparted into the heart of Brahma, the first created living being. And Brahma in the turn disseminated this knowledge to his sons and disciples as originally received it from the Lord. The Lord is Purnam, all perfect, and there is no possibility of his becoming subjected to the laws of material nature. One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that the Lord is only proprietor of everything, is the universe, and that he is the original creator, the creator of Brahma. In the 11th chapter, the Lord is addressed as the Pratyatmaha, because Brahma is addressed as a Pitamaha, the grandfather, and he is the creator of grandfather. So no one could claim to be proprietor of anything. One should accept only things set aside from him by the Lord as his quota for his maintenance. There are many examples given of how we have to utilize those things which are set aside for us by the Lord. This is also explained in Bhagavad-Gita. In the beginning, Arjuna decided that we should not fight in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. This was his own decision. Arjuna told the Lord that it was not possible for him to enjoy the kingdom after killing his own kinsman. This decision was based on the bodily concept because he was thinking that body was himself and the bodily relations or expansions were his brothers, nephews, brother-in-laws, father-in-laws, grandfather, and so on. Therefore, he wanted to satisfy his bodily demands. Bhagavad-Gita was spoken by Lord just to change this view. And at the end, Arjuna decided to fight under the direction of Lord when he says, Karishye vachanam tava, I shall act according to your words. So, this science is coming from the disciplic succession, as we saw last time, that first he was spoken to Lord Brahma, and then ultimately it came down as a disciplic succession all the way up to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had 11 disciples, and those 11 disciples also made disciples, and this way it has come to us. And here we have exhibited Bhagavad-Gita. Please sponsor at least one set of Bhagavad-Gita, which is only $108. Now Mataji will speak, or she will chant Aarti, and Anubhav Prabhu will offer a Aarti to Radha Govinda. Please stay tuned, watch the Aarti, attend it, and we will sing the Aarti now. Namo Vishnupada Paramahams Parivakiracharya Stotra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। अंतर्विद मायापू धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौ प्रेमानंदी, all good to assemble devotees, all good to assemble devotees, all good to Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
સંકીર્તન વાળા લોકો નાખે સંકીર્તન વાળા એ લોકો ત્યાં મૂકતા હોય છે પેલો નટબર કે કોઈ નાખે નટબર કરાવ્યું ને